Hi, and welcome back to Design with Renn. This podcast is where we explore the mindsets, methods, and stories that shape more inclusive futures. Today's episode is a little different and a little special. What you're about to hear is a live talk I gave on one of my favorite subjects, designing for inclusion through co-creation and human-centered design. Because it was originally delivered with slides, I want to give you a quick heads up. This one really comes alive when you see it. If you're listening in audio only, you'll still take away a lot. But if you're able to, I encourage you to head over to the Design with Renn YouTube channel. There you'll find the full video with all the visuals, frameworks, and product examples that make the ideas even more tangible. In this session, I share case studies from my work, personal reflections on women's health and safety, and some hard-earned lessons on how inclusive design isn't just good practice, it's a responsibility. My hope is that it sparks new ways of thinking and maybe a little more courage to bring empathy and collaboration into your projects. So wherever you're tuning in from, whether you're walking, working, or sitting with a notebook ready, let's dive in together. Welcome to exploring how we can co-create and use human-centered design to create more inclusive products. So what to expect? The session is designed to be interactive. We're going to start with an empathy building exercise. We're going to explore some key principles of human-centered design. And I'll also share 3 real world examples, some of the client work that I've done to show you how I have applied these design principles. Towards the end of the session, you will have a chance to think about these design principles and discuss a design challenge within 3 to 5. By the end of this session, you will have some practical insights to bring into your own design practice, research practice, or reframe the things that you do along with your day-to-day experiences. Now that we know what's ahead in today's session, let's start with an important question. So why does inclusive human-centered design matter? We often think about design as something that's visual or functional. But reality design shapes the way that we experience the world. So the choices that we make as designers, researchers, academics, that these really impact who feels seen, who feels included, and who might get left behind. So the reality is that many products, even life critical ones, haven't been designed specifically with women in mind. So what I'm going to do today is actually frame the people that we're designing for, or thinking about the people that we're designing for as actually as women, and using them as our example. Take, for example, crash test dummies. Historically, as you can see on the left here, that they have been modeled after the average male body, meaning cars are statistically less safe for women. The same gaps exist in health tech. A pro of COVID and the pandemic is that we really have brought to light the gaps that exist in healthcare specific to women. The things that I create include a lot of wearables. Typically in the past, the wearables don't track health specific needs based on female data. So this is likely something that you have heard or that you're aware of, but I don't want to make any assumptions for people on the call. So sharing this as some key insights to help frame the things that we're talking about today. When products are built without considering the full range of users, exclusion does happen. But by using human-centered design and co-creation, we can change this, ensuring that what we create is safe, seamless, intuitive, relevant to the people that we're designing for. So that is why today's session is so important, because inclusive design isn't just a trend. If you've heard this as an idea, something that people are thinking about, it is a responsibility and an opportunity for us to create products that really work for everyone. So let's take a step back and think about our own experiences with collaboration. So one of the most important aspects of human-centered design is thinking about understanding the people that we're designing for. But that really starts with how we relate to each other. So great design happens when we work together, share experiences, and build solutions together. Inclusive design is not just a trend. Co-creation isn't just a design concept. It happens in everyday life, whether we're at work, in a team, or during an event like this. We've all had moments when a great collaboration changed our perspective or led to something really valuable. So to get us thinking about this, we're going to do a quick empathy interview activity. I will ask you to take a screenshot of these instructions that you see on the screen. Every person is going to take 2 minutes to answer the next 2 questions. So when was the last time you met someone at an event that you could collaborate with? My assumption is some of you would be going out into, physical events or, meetings in person or, maybe coffee chats and so on. Could be because that's typically when we have a chance to interact more. So in this case, we of course are at this event online, but when you now go and reflect and have a chance to chat with two new people that you have not met before, likely in a chat in a breakout room, you're going to ask them, when was the last time that you met someone at an event that you could collaborate with? And how did that make you feel and why? This as a technique works really well to introduce yourself to each other. Anyone like to talk about when was the last time you met someone at an event that you could collaborate with and how did that make you feel and why?
Complete stranger? I can't remember a time, but be someone like that I know.
Yeah, we have to get you out more then.
I know.
Did
We
you
got
meet
out
some
more.
complete strangers today?
Yes,
See,
the
there we
group right
go.
now.
Success right there.
That's right.
Going to an online event allows you to meet someone that you have never met before. And how did that feel? How did that feel, Leon?
How did it make me feel?
Yes.
It was good.
It's
Except,
good. Excellent. I find typically with these types of events, you don't get to meet anyone. You don't see their faces. You might be speaking to a large group of people and only have acronyms in front of you. This is certainly let me ask someone else. Any thoughts on when was the last time you met someone at an event that you could collaborate with? Anyone else like to verbally share?
I know DesignX, they put on a pretty good conference I've been to a couple of times. And last year, unfortunately, I didn't make it this year, but last year they had that and they do a really good job of forcing collaborative breakouts and stuff like that. So I think that's a year ago. So I think that's probably the most memorable of them. Yeah, I think, and then you're with like-minded user experience designers, at least in the same field, but with different experiences. I found that to be invigorating and a great learning experience.
Amazing. Thank you. Invigorating and a great learning experience. So that's a really nice reflection. Thanks, Tony. One more person, Eric T.
Hello. So I thought it was interesting because when I thought about meeting people, I immediately thought of in person, and so I don't really think of all of the Zoom interaction that we've had over the longest time now. I don't really think of that as a place to meet new people. Like I think it does happen, but you don't really connect as much. And so my first thoughts of places where I met were backed up to in-person events. And the thing about that was in our discussion in our breakout session was in those in-person events, you have a chance to connect more with people about sort of random things that are happening around the environment. So there's the topic that you're talking about, or like the last thing was actually at a Torkai event where I was at. But there's a lot of common things there. But then things happen where something might be interesting, and you just notice somebody else is interested in and break out and talk to them that way. And I found that personal connection, to answer your question about it, it felt good. It made me happy and made me think of other things that are interesting besides just the topic at hand. But I think it's something that's hard to do online.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It can be, and it is hard to do online. But the thanks for sharing your thoughts and certainly what has stood out to me with what Eric, Tony, and Leon had pointed out was that it's an opportunity to meet someone new. Meeting someone new online can be unexpected. Grading learning experience feels good. We had just 2 minutes of time together, and the thing that always stands out to me the most is that within this very short period of time is that you're able to connect with people, like-minded people. And it actually feels really good. And it's an unexpected experience as well. So go figure that we can learn so much from just a very simple empathy activity, which is focused on collaboration and meeting the people that we could potentially collaborate with in the future. So great lead in to this next topic, which is why human-centered design and what is human-centered design? So let's start there. Good design starts with understanding people, their needs, their environment, people, contexts, and activities. For those of you that know me, I talk a lot about designing for people. When we think about the environment, so people, contact, activities. Who are you? Where are you? What are the things that you are doing? Where does it take place? In the case of today, obviously we're online. So the context of our activities is that we are going to be designing together in a digital format, but through an online experience. So great design starts with understanding people. Again, we start with empathy. It's really empathy driven as far as the key characteristics, understanding people's users, challenges, their desires, their context. Again, this is really important. Another key characteristic of human-centered design is that it's iterative. We start with understanding the people we're designing for. We define the problem space. We iterate, we prototype, we test, we launch. For those of you that are designers working within the space already, this would be a familiar concept from left to right for you. For those that are new to this space, certainly what I want to reiterate here is that the important thing about thinking about the people that we're designing for is that we want to engage them throughout the design process. So whether we are at the initial stage from left to right, or let's say we jump right into the exploration, which is ideate and explore, we're always going to go back to the users or engage with them all throughout our design process. So what is co-creation? So the idea of co-creation, again, it's engaging our users, the people that we're designing for, throughout our design process. So this idea is that we're designing with them, not just for them. Again, user feedback, iteration, the idea that if we design with the people that we ultimately want to sell to throughout our design process, is that the more likely it is that they will buy into our products because they will see the value that we have in it. We'll be capturing their feedback. We're creating something that is truly useful for them. Who on the call has heard of a designer called Dieter Rams? I see a few hands up, one or two. Pam Lauren, thank you. So for those of you that may not know, Dieter Rams is more popular in the 70s, perhaps. Someone give me a specific timeline. He's a legendary industrial designer known for his work at Braun, which you can see many of the products in the image on the left. He developed 10 principles of good design that have influenced generations of designers such as myself. His philosophy emphasizes simplicity, functionality, and timelessness. And on the right-hand side, you can see 10 principles of good design. So for example, good design is innovative. It pushes boundaries while leveraging new technology. Good design makes a product useful, prioritizes functionality and usability. These are all key words and attributes that many of you within the design and research space are familiar with. And good design, of course, is, or I should say, of course, should be aesthetic. It enhances usability and emotional connection. So these are many principles that continually get used, and certainly products such as the ones that you would see on the right will be familiar to you. His influence can be seen in modern product design, especially in companies like Apple, which emphasize minimalism and usability. In this case, good design makes a product understandable. You can see the physical and the digital influence that he has had in the products that have been created. Certainly for those of you that are Apple Mac users, the physical device plus what you see on screen is certainly his design principles are also applied to that, icons, symbols, etc. So highly referenced and highly found within the products that many of us have designed. Who's familiar with some of these design principles, and do you have a favorite product or an example that you have referenced over time? I'm looking for a call out for maybe some of my industrial design friends that commonly I know would have used these examples and presentations and so on. So these design principles that you see from 1 to 10, left to right, have been found foundational in shaping modern designs. So his ideas like making design innovative, useful, understandable, and long-lasting have set the standard for what we would consider good design today. But as powerful as these principles are, they were created in a different time, different context. They focus largely on function, aesthetic, and simplicity, which of course are all important, but they don't address who design serves, the people that we are designing for, and how it impacts different types of users. So as you are looking at these examples, you can, certainly say, yeah, these are beautifully designed products, but they may not work for every type of person, people, groups that we have in mind. And critically, the larger groups of people that we do need to think about when we're designing. So how do we address those that we're designing for? Who do we serve is a common term that we seem to use more now, and who might get left out. So again, looking at this from a female focus lens, thinking about historically how women's needs have been an afterthought in design. I'm going to reflect on a few other examples again. So just as a reminder, and for those people, I should say reminder, for those that maybe join the call a little bit later, in my space, I design a lot of work or do a lot of work with health and wellness, consumer products. So medical devices research have primarily been tested in the past on men, leading to misdiagnosis and less effective treatments for women. Everyday products like Smartphone, office chairs, gear are often designed based on the average male body, making them less comfortable or even unsafe for women. Doesn't mean that anyone was trying to do anything wrong. Many of you, myself included, I mean, we've been in the design space for many years, so we can all hold ourselves accountable for looking at what are the things that we've done. How did we test? How did we ideate? How did we imagine? How did we actually think about our products, the services, the apps, and so on that we created? And at what stage did we actually engage with the type of people that we're designing for? Many people on the call, such as Cam, are really exploring the AI space. So even in technology and AI, systems like voice recognition, biometric scanners have lower accuracy for women due to male dominant training data. So again, no one has done anything wrong, but now that we have awareness for this, how do we then take our knowledge, our experience, and our design expertise to simply do a better and a more informed job? So this is why inclusive design requires additional considerations beyond Dieter Rams' original principles. So again, in the case of thinking about women from the lens that we are talking about this evening, so our products designed with women's real needs. Do they prioritize safety, accessibility, and comfort? And are women involved in the design process, or are we assuming the needs that they have? So the comparative of the design principles, I had some fun with this for this presentation, specifically looking at the design principles for the female-focused products. So I have 11 in total. And as a teaser for this evening, as I'm sharing out for the first time, these 5. So good design is safe, good design is intuitive, good design is personalized, it's seamless and collaborative. And what has led to this list? Let's do a deeper dive into those. So good design is safe, core design principle. I'm starting with this one. It is number 4 in the list, but I'm bringing it up today to bring more focus to it. What I have heard from women and the people that I've interviewed along the way for the products and services apps that I've designed is that they need products that prioritize their safety, trust, because they often navigate and physical and digital environments where their safety is a concern. So those on the call, I'm sure that many of you that are men would also can relate and resonate with these. But for women, certainly this is a key, larger concern. And so when we think about good design being safe, we need to prioritize trust and security. We want to empower people to navigate physical and digital spaces with confidence. Thoughtful design anticipates risks, ensures protection, and creates environments where our safety is never an afterthought. So we can think about that in physical, digital spaces. We can think about that online. And we can also think about what that might mean to us when we are, of course, out in the world, not in front of our screens and our devices as we are right now. Good design is intuitive. I've heard from many people that I've talked with that they want products that are easy to understand and use. So they don't waste time deciphering complex interfaces or confusing instructions. Is this a stereotype? Do people believe that this is special just for women? I'm curious, who is the person that might be you get a new product for the first time? Are you an explorer, or are you someone that just reads instructions from start to finish? Anyone want to self-acknowledge themselves as the explorer, or the person that must read the instructions before they get started?
I would go with Explorer.
Explorer, thank you.
Same, I'm an explorer too.
Yeah, okay. So that can be maybe more stereotypical.
I'll explore, but I'll read the instructions if it's obviously complicated, like just to make sure you don't get it wrong. So some of the, for example, Ring products, like the doorbell, some are walk up and use, and some of them you definitely have to go through their little wizard.
Amazing. Thank you for those that brought their experiences to life. And thank you, Deborah. You have reiterated with one of your comments, or stated with one of your comments, one of the things that I hear a lot from women, not from men, is that they will say, so I don't get it wrong. Typically, men will not say, so I don't get it wrong, which I think is really interesting. So we certainly have seen or heard from just this, short feedback session that this may seem a little bit more on the stereotypical side, but women will want more products that are considered effortless to use. They will talk more about having less time. They don't want to waste time deciphering complex interfaces or unclear instructions. So clarity and simplicity create confidence. allowing people to focus on what matters most. All right, next core design principle, number 3 in our conversation for today. Customized experiences are needed because one-size-fits-all solutions often fail to account for the different body types, health needs, and lifestyles. So certainly highlighted the, crash test dummies, talked about medical devices, data, and so on. Our good design in this case, using again the female focus as our lens, it needs to be personalized. It needs to acknowledge that standardized solutions often overlook the body types, health needs, and lifestyles that we have. And this will truly allow us to create products that are accessible, comfortable, and truly designed to fit the body, fit the mind, fit the personality, etc. Next up, good design is seamless. A common attribute that we hear a lot. In this case, what I mean by seamlessness is that it integrates effortlessly into daily life. It allows people to stay focused on what matters without adjusting your routine or navigating unnecessary steps. And this is something that from a day-to-day point of view, that our routines certainly have changed from online to perhaps hybrid to in-person work. And so when we think about the things that we're designing going forward, I think this really feels like a much more critical principle that we need to consider. Lastly, and a really important one today, relevant to co-creation and the focus for our session, is that good design is collaborative. This is a key principle that's very different than what we had learned in the past from Dieter Rams. Again, not that he was doing anything wrong, but we as designers, researchers, academics, however you describe yourself as an active practitioner today, is that we really need to think about how do we create space where we can collaborate. And so online and in person is critical. We need to foster that co-collaboration, whether it's with ourselves or with ourselves, for ourselves, and with the people that we're designing for. Fosters co-creation, foster decision-making. We want to make sure that these diverse perspectives are included and that the people that we're designing for, that they feel heard, valued, and that, realistically, that they are represented in the final product. Any thoughts or questions before we go into the case study examples?
I have an addition or comment.
Sure, bring it on.
Yeah, so you alluded to the fact that I'm working in this general space of data design and AI. One of the, I guess, evolving context for when I think about what constitutes good design is that good design needs to be contextual. It needs to understand space and place. And by that, I mean good design needs to understand in the context of data design and AI, for example, whether or not I am using and leveraging AI power in the context of, say, healthcare versus surveillance versus something else. And that's one of the challenges that I have as well, too, when I think about how we design around AI, is how do we actually augment AI to be responsive to the context in which it needs to be applied. So in that sense, I think one of the things I would like to add is that a good design needs to have a sense of context. And a more concrete example would be when you're on your mobile phone and you're using an application and you go to your desktop. For me, good design needs to know that I have changed context, physical context, and that perhaps I don't need to see all the stuff on my screen in the case of mobile. But if I go to a desktop, of course, I need to see, the full gambit of all of the tools that I need in that context. So, yeah. So I would say good design needs to be contextual.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. You have revealed one of the other design principles that I haven't shown, but did actually detail it in a different way than what I've added so far. Yeah, definitely context is key. So thinking about where are you? What are you doing? Time of day, environment, sound. So if you're in a public or a private space, so then is an important consideration, along with if you are alone or with other people. I mean, there's so many different degrees of details that we can think about, but thanks for highlighting that, because you've talked about it, kind of how you're transitioning from kind of like one screen to another or from one device to another. But that is a key consideration. Okay, thanks for the comment and thanks for sharing, Cam. Next up is some 3 case studies, and I'll go through these just at a very high level, and certainly as I have a chance to detail out these design principles and share more information, I will be posting on LinkedIn, more detail about each of these examples. So if you look at this and go, why did she not tell me more? Then please feel free to, get in touch or take a look on LinkedIn as I have a chance to share this. So this is very top level detail. Three real world examples. One, a company called Hone Athletics, which is focused on sports performance and mental resilience. This is an app platform and program that's designed with athletes and coaches. Next is Vibra Smart Underwear. This is a women's health and wellness product, app, and ecosystem. So it's a wearable being underwear device and an app. It's co-created with women to ensure safety and privacy, but the core thing is real-time biometric tracking. Lastly is a product that I worked with Bombardier, and it's an industrial safety product for rail workers. So instead of getting into the larger detail here, let me share the slides. And the reason that I was calling these out is we may have some of the product people on the call. So I'll ask them to add some comments should they want to share more details. So first, Hone Athletics, you can do a Google search and learn more and read more about these fabulous people. It is a platform that's designed to help coaches support their athletes' mental and emotional well-being. So while sports science has perfected physical training, the mental science of performance has really been overlooked. So many coaches recognize that their athletes struggle with stress, pressure, and burnout, but of course, they're coaches, they're not therapists, and they need tools to support their teams without stepping beyond their own expertise. So why is this as an idea needed? It's needed because up to date now, there was really not a reliable way or, way through data of really mitigating risk for athletes unless they would come forward and perhaps, share or, specifically share with their coach or perhaps share with others, with their trainers, how they were feeling and how they were doing. So when we look at the need for this and we think about the design principles that we've shared, 3 that are applicable to this as a product that I've looked to apply and work through with the team is seamless, personal, and collaborative. And so what does seamless mean in this case? So the Hone platform integrates directly into the coach's workflow, making it easy to track an athlete's well-being without disrupting existing training routines. The way that the app works is that sends 7 questions to the athletes. They respond back instead of requiring them to fill out lengthy surveys or attend separate wellness sessions. They're able to do this through an app on their phone. It provides structured check-ins that deliver real insights to the coach without extra work for them or for the players. So in the image that I'm sharing here kind of shows, as an example, the coach can have the app in front of them while they're actually doing their coaching and their training, or before the actual session or the game, etc. They can have a larger screen that shows the data that the app shares. Personal, the design principle. So rather than offering generic medical advice, it can provide individualized visibility into these common stressors that athletes have. So the questions that I mentioned that are asked, we'll talk about, the time constraints you have, the pressure you're feeling, whether or not you feel disconnected from your team, your coach, the people that you care about, and fatigue. Each experience for an athlete is different, so this provides personalized recommendations and guidance based on real data. Hone as a product, as an app, it's not designed in isolation. It's built with and for coaches. So the team actively will engage, interview coaches, interview athletes, take that feedback and use that as an input into what they create and how they design in the future. It's practical, actionable insights, not just theoretical knowledge that we get from academics. The platform does not replace human connection. It enhances it in this case. So it gives the coach a meaningful conversation, helps them support their teams in a way that feels really natural and effective. So stay tuned for more on that and certainly follow up with me if you want to hear more. Next is a product called Vibra Smart Underwear. This is a product that is early stage concept idea. And certainly if you are interested in this, it's not just for women, it's for men too. Though it is worn for women, it is a biometric tracking smart underwear. Why I say it's for women too is that it allows the women to capture and get data on when they can conceive. So it is something that obviously partners, male or female, would be interested in. And it's really redefining women's health by taking this cutting edge science with wearable technology. So despite advances in health tracking, many solutions don't address unique reproductive and wellness needs. So Fibra as a company is looking to change that by offering this non-invasive textile-based sensor system to provide real-time data, providing health insights, all in the form of something that we know women already wear. Underwear. Let me go to the next slide here. And you can see again, this is an ecosystem. So it has an app, it has the underwear and a device that connects with the sensors. So the principles applied in this case are, again, safety is important. In this case, we talk more about privacy and security to the core of Fibra's design. Unlike bulky medical devices or invasive procedures, the underwear allows women to monitor their vital biomarkers that in a way that feels natural and discreet. And it delivers clinically accurate data while ensuring that your personal information is actually protected as well. One of the barriers to health technology for those that may have tried devices and other, things to monitor their health and wellness is actually, sort of like largeness, clunkiness, invasiveness of the devices that are available. In this case, it just looks like regular underwear, so there's no extra steps to using it while you're able to collect the data. So Fibra is more than a wearable. It's revolutionary in women's health, and by making the tracking safe, seamless, and intuitive, it looks to empower women to take control of their bodies with confidence and ultimately builds a healthier future for generations to come. I think the more that we can actively ourselves, why I'm mentioning also Fibra is that you can join the community, join the waitlist, get involved and learn more and be an active participant in this. So this is truly a co-creative process that the team is using. So certainly take a look at their website and sign up to be an active participant, yourself or your partner or your loved one. Next is a safety alert system that I designed, co-created with Bombardier. This is one that is now from, 3 to 5 years ago. But why I'm showing this relevant to the design principles is that as you are looking at this and as you imagine, a track worker and track maintenance workers are typically male. And so it is a very masculine dominated industry. And rightfully so, it's very physically demanding. And being a person that did then interview and co-create and followed alongside these maintenance workers and track workers in their day-to-day work, I would say that there's no woman that should be crazy enough to do this job. It's quite important, and why it was needed, I should say quite important, it was critically needed. Injuries and fatalities were rising due to human error and insufficient warning systems. So this is a system that was created, RFID technology, to detect when workers are near or on active tracks. So in this case, the workers would be able to get advanced warning from the trains that would be coming towards them. They do their work while trains are actually running. So it's a device, a wearable, a check-in system that allows the track workers to know when they can go on and off the track based on communicating with the rail controllers. But as they go along the track, there also are lights and sounds that would be initiated as the trains come closer, giving them that advanced warning to move. It was developed in partnership with MARTA in Atlanta, and alerts are practical, effective, easy to integrate into real operations. So again, it was co-creative, collaborative, and it's intuitive in that the system requires no manual input from the workers. The alerts are triggered automatically, allowing them to focus on their tasks without distraction. A key learning for me in this project was how relevant the female-focused design principles were, and that, surprising in a good way, was that a design principle such as where am I? So I'll go back to actually one of the things that Cam talked about, which was context. So context of use is everything. A rail worker, similar to a woman that I have heard a lot comments about, is like, where am I? What am I doing? Am I safe? Am I connected to others that know where I am and what I'm doing? And based on time of day, conditions around me, am I safe and secure? Can I use a system that is initiated by voice? Can I hear sound? Can I be hands-free? And can I actually, carry the things that I need to carry while I'm moving through my day? So these are ones that resonate highly with women. And in this case of the system for track workers were critical as part of the design. So go figure, this as a very masculine product and system, highly relied on all of the design principles for the female focus group. Okay, so what do these case studies show us? Co-creation leads to better solutions. I think you will agree. Human-centered design ensures that a product will fit real needs, not the ones that we assume or the ones that we imagine when we're thinking about the people that we're designing for and inspired by them. We see that the end result, the outcomes can be quite different than what we assumed they might have been. And using design principles inspired by women, if I reflect back on the Bombardier example as an example, that it will create a safer, smarter, and more inclusive innovation. So super interesting to see myself how these principles have really resulted in better products for customers and people that I've had an opportunity to design for. Okay, so today's challenge, enough about me. We are going to now split back into groups of 3 to 5 people. I'll ask you to take a screenshot of this design challenge. You are going to have the opportunity to design an everyday product to be more inclusive for women. A problem that you're trying to solve. Many everyday products were designed without considering diverse needs, including body types, hand sizes, mobility levels, or cultural considerations. Pick what you think is your favorite, a smartphone or a wearable. Could be a public transit card, reader, gym equipment, office chair, giving some kind of like low-hanging fruit examples that we all can likely go, hey, yeah, I think that can be a better design. Think about how you may be able to design it to be more inclusive and accessible. And from there, you are going to discuss 1 to 2 of the design principles, which are presented here on the right-hand side. Good design is collaborative, good design is personalized, and good design is accessible. So I'll ask everyone to just take a moment, do a screenshot so you can reflect on these. And what we will do, we will have, just checking time. Thanks for joining back. Very curious. We had a great discussion, myself, Alona, and Alice on our in the breakout session. For anyone that would like to share any how the design principles, any key design considerations, high-level topics discussion that you have had, any group or individuals that would like to just give us a how did it go and what did you talk about?
I can speak, I guess, to Amanda and Julia and I. We were just talking about discussing about women's challenges with opening, jars, and just wondering how we could solve that problem.
Did you, and so when what would from the design principle point of view, did you get into the detail of collaborative, personalized, or accessible? What that would mean for the jar opening experience?
Yeah, I guess, well, it would be kind of hard, but I mean, one thing is just to get like something that could open it, but maybe not putting it on so hard or, screwing it on so tightly. But just in terms of maybe texture of something, made for accessibility purposes, like just Braille, maybe something anti-slip for in a wet like shower. I don't know. Yeah, some of these things we're looking at. I don't know if Amanda or Julia wants to speak up about any of these.
That's great. Such a great example of something that we may experience on an everyday point of view, but actually, I'll pause if there was anyone else that wanted to add a comment. Thank you for coming up with a different example that was listed. That one in particular, I find so interesting from the point of view that it's one that we may, well, I'll say like continue to experience in my life, but I don't think about, hey, that is a problem that we could solve, and it's a big one. Deborah also has her hand raised. I'd like to share your experience and insights and topics of discussion.
Thanks, Renn. So that was a really cool exercise. Our group, Nat brought up the idea that snowblowers, especially the electric ones, can get quite heavy. And Eric had a really good idea about making it modular. So implicitly, we were talking about accessibility. And then we got into an interesting discussion that Kem had raised about not just the physical sort of aspects of needing to consider the user who might have different abilities or different context for using a product, but also the digital sort of like in Roe v. Wade in the healthcare system. Kem, please correct me if I'm misrepresenting. For example, you don't want your healthcare, your EHR sort of outputting things like you've had an abortion for other people to read without the privacy factor considered and the context of who is seeing it. And so, so we got a little into that discussion of like the industrial design and the digital design, but we also, I think, implicitly touched on personalized. So that, if something is going to be too heavy for you, you have the option of separate batteries with the modular idea. That's an example. So.
Fantastic. Yeah. No,
And then shockingly, we ran out of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really good discussion.
Yeah, no, that's great. You covered a very large range of ideas and product decisions, and certainly I think what comes to mind with the context. Certainly, we've had more snow and need to be shoveling. So yeah, give me the snow blower, not just the shovel. But those are great examples. Actually, I'll let Kim as well respond to just the comment that you made in case she wanted to say anything in response.
Oh my, thanks for putting me on the spot. So much of our time is spent in the realm of the digital that we need to make considerations for, these things that we often think about when they're physical and we can touch them, right? Like the snowblower example, opening. I have 2 giant boys, so I don't have the can opening situation. It's just like, come open a can for mom. But yes, so when we think about how that translates in the realm of the digital, a lot of the design we as designers are doing now has to do with data design. And so, how do we actually port over what we know in this analog space to digital spaces? So the example that Deborah was just talking about was specifically to do with, and Renn already, that, but what my interests are these days. But how do we ensure when we design in digital spaces, for example, and I use the specific context of the reversal of Roe v. Wade, which is something I'm interested in, when you're designing for women, how do you actually design so that you're protecting women and you're protecting their data and their privacy and civil liberties, right? And so it's a different type of consideration for the rights of women or the existence of women, but I think it's very necessary because a lot of our world has been actually moved towards the digital. So that was the example I was giving, in our breakout session. But I think it's something we need to consider. How do we actually make sure that when we come up with design principles that they not only apply to analog spaces, but digital spaces as well, too. And the one heuristic that I think about, for example, is how do you actually give women control over their data, right? So there are a lot of menstruation apps and fertility apps that are now being actually sequestered by, say, state control agents to say, oh, you had an abortion, you talked about having an abortion. How do you actually give the woman the right to actually control that data, give consent to share that data or revoke that data? So that's the space I exist in right now. But I definitely see that bridge from the analog space of whether it is giving women the control over a snowblower or giving women control over their data. So for me, it's one and the same, but 2 different realms.
Oh, sorry, could I just add to that part about because can't they not have anonymity or anything?
Yeah, so that is one of the heuristics that we're pushing for right now is the whole idea of how do we anonymize people's data so that it is normalized that we could see, a group of people think so, but not, Mary did this, right? People like Mary. So there's a lot of conversation happening around that space, but not every app out there actually has the woman's interest in mind, right? So
amazing. Thank you, Deborah, Diane, and Cam, those comments. And actually, with the feedback and the discussion we're just having, I'm imagining a larger session, but a key thing that actually is a really critical reflection for me as I'm looking at how I've described these, because I talked about them as like physical and digital, but the digital part, really the data, I think is needs to be specifically called out on its own. Alona has her hand up as well.
Yes. Thank you. I think this data granularity, Cam, thank you. Hello, welcome. Nice to see you. The data granularity that you mentioned in the Roe v. Wade example could be something simple or related to something like my father was member of a communist party,
Yes.
comes and goes. Suddenly, no longer welcome to enter the United States. This was a reality. It actually happened to my father in 1991, and he couldn't do it for some years, and then suddenly he could again. Like government comes on, and which parts of your data become more sensitive or less sensitive, and it's to be women or not women, and like at what granularity can we control data, and at what point can we create that privacy shield? Can we divide our data into pieces? And I think that's a really interesting problem that in terms of context. And like when you go to China, you may want to share different things. Like they say, don't bring your cell phone when you cross certain borders because they can access it and certain things will incriminate you. So this is a really interesting, huge topic. Thank you.
And it's actually a case, not to go over this, but
sorry, I'm going
in
to
Kentucky,
sorry to cut you off just in interest of time, because I know we can do a real deep dive in this. Thank you for those comments. So we can see from our own learning and reflection that thinking of how can we co-design the future together, just meeting people for the first time that we don't know, that we may be able to collaborate with, that how much input that we get from these very short conversations when we focus ourselves on specific design considerations, attributes, and design principles. And certainly key learning on this one is that we talked about collaboration, personalization, and accessibility. But what came up really quickly is the importance of data and the information that we're capturing specific for the people that we have in mind. So amazing work and reflection. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm and sharing out these as inputs. So this is your prescription for inclusive design, a daily dose of human-centered design, daily actions. Think about simple, everyday ways to integrate these design principles into your work. Just like a daily habit, we can integrate human-centered design in our work in small, but I would say meaningful ways. We can also think about, where are we in our own career? Where are we now? Where do we want to be this, today, this week, 30 days from now, over time? One of the things that I do is actively work with designers, design teams, organizations as well. So thinking about, where we are right now as individuals, my goal was certainly to share this as education and awareness, and for you to think about how do I now, based on what I learned, how would that change what I might do in the future? So this may be your moment in time where you go, hey, I'm going to start thinking about the people that I'm designing for really differently. And I'd love to hear more of what this has inspired you to think about and the things that you might do in the future. Next up, with that in mind, based on your design challenge and the ideas that you had the opportunity to share, how might you design a current project, product, or process that you're working on differently going forward? Followed by, how does thinking about or applying inclusive design principles make you feel? So I'll give you a chance just to reflect on those two questions. If you'd like to write that down in front of you in your notebook, on your notepad, on your computer, or directly into the chat. If you do not want to say it out loud, that would be great as well. Just curious that based on, things that you're now working on or things in your immediate environment, how does this, the design challenge and so on make you think differently? Thanks, Bruce, for adding that into the chat. And Bruce, would you like to read this out for us? Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, I can do it. So I'm getting involved in a project which involves documentation and trying to incorporate contributions from a variety of people. And so there are two levels. There's the design level and simply the writing level. And people have different expectations at both levels.
Amazing. Tell me more. What are the different expectations?
So this is for Canonical, an open source software producer, and their products are operating systems. So documentation in itself is already torn because it could be very, very technical, or it could be a little bit user-friendly. And some people are engineers and some people are simply communicating about how the thing works. Then secondarily, if you look, for example, in a glossary, some are very stringent about how a glossary definition should be written, and some are very casual and feel that simply talking through the subject is helpful to people learning it.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's really deep insights into documentation. I think that we can take a lot for granted for the way that it's been created in the past. And certainly with what you've talked about, even makes me think about designing it in a different way. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Okay, we are a bit short on time. So we won't have the opportunity to read these out loud by everyone, but thank you for sharing. So Leon, I always feel great designing with inclusivity in mind. Thanks for sharing that. It makes the process more objective to include others, ethnographic approach. Thank you, Cam. And Challenge. How broad can we go in inclusion? What is our inclusive catchment large enough? I believe that challenge has come from Harumi.
Me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the next topic.
You know, when you say women, there's so many different women. When you
Of
say
course there are. Yeah.
culture, size, where do we
Yep.
draw the line?
We don't draw the line. We think about who we're designing for and the product that we're creating,
Right.
service, app, or
Mhm.
wearable device. And then, I guess, according to the value it provides for a specific group, interview and engage, immerse ourselves with those people. Thanks for watching Design with Renn, where we explore what it means to create with care, context, and intention. If this sparks something for you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's designing for change. Want more? New episodes drop regularly, and you'll find resources, tools, and behind-the-scenes thinking right here on the channel. Keep designing with purpose, and I'll see you in the next one.